welcome to Coffee Talk. I am your host, Mashuma Saba, M. Saba, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Stay tuned. Peace. And welcome to Coffee Talk Podcast, Cultural Variety Podcast Show. And I'm your host, Mashuma Saba, M. Saba. And this is our Cultural Variety Podcast Show. How y'all doing today? On this beautiful early evening, about 4:34 p.m. Central Standard Time, February 17th. How y'all doing today? If you're doing good, go ahead and drop a comment and tell us how good you're doing today. If you're doing average, go ahead and let us know it's an average day for you. And if you just need a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of positivity, and just a little pat on the back, man, go ahead and let us know, man, because we'd love to hear from you here at Coffee Talk Podcast. You know, we always have a shoulder to lean on as well as an ear to listen. But welcome to Coffee Talk Podcast, your cultural variety podcast show. All right, so tonight is our Friday night, and I was thinking, what can we talk about today as far as content goes? And one of the things that I want to reach out and talk to young people about is masturbation. I felt like, look, man, we need to really discuss some issues that have to do with men's health. And masturbation is one of them that I want to talk about. Why did I want to talk about it? Because I know growing up as a young man, I didn't have these discussions. Yes, I had a father there, but sometimes father was out providing. You know, I've had uncles there, but sometimes uncles were out there providing. So I thought, why not have a real discussion where you're not talking to some social worker or you're not talking to some doctor, but you're actually talking to someone that comes from where you come from. Not to say that doctors and social workers don't, but I want you to feel comfortable during this episode of Men's Health and as we talk about masturbation tonight. All right. So if this is your first time tuning into the show, again, we are a cultural variety podcast show. So you're only going to get certain episodes, certain topics, depending on the day of the week. Like on Monday, Sunday, and Mondays, we like to give you what we call cultural studies, where we like to give our props to our doctors, our scholars, our lawyers, our scientists, our authors, and just give props to our ancestors and our people. On Wednesday nights, we like to do what we call Wednesday night sports edition. We don't care about who won or lost like typical sports shows. But what we like to do is give you the different intricacies that goes on with being a black and brown athlete in the world of sports, the different intricacies that goes on behind the scenes in the world of sports. And then also on Friday and Saturday nights, we like to do what we call grown folks social hour. But tonight, this Friday, I want to go ahead and make this for the young adult. So if you have a young adult, please put them in front of the screen. And if you are like in between getting off work or not, you've been waiting for this episode, feel free to go on YouTube as well as Facebook Live later on when you are comfortable and go ahead and pull this episode out with your kids. Now, I understand there's the double genders, there's women and there's men, but tonight we're going to talk about men because this is men's health and we're talking about masturbation. All right. We're going to make sure that we keep it as clean as possible, but we also want to talk to our youth in a way that they can understand. So we're not going to tiptoe around certain issues. We're going to keep it real like your uncles, your fathers should have done and did. Because I know some people had fathers that did teach them about sex and the things like that, but then some didn't. You know what I'm saying? So me, Mashuma Saba, I'm coming from the library today, as you can see in the background. and we're gonna go ahead and dive right into it. All right, if this is your first time coming on the show, we never start the show without giving it its flavor. That's right. We're gonna go ahead and give it its flavor. So, what's tonight's flavor? Tonight's flavor. Thank you, audience. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Tonight's flavor is Quaway. Quaway. That is Qahwe. That's Quaway. What is Quaway, you ask? Quaway is a Somalian version. It's a Somalian coffee, I like to say. It's a Somali version of coffee with milk and spice with a mixture of cardamom and cinnamon. That's right. But if you don't like milk, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, you can use almond or oat, whatever, that type of milk. It's acidity, it's acidity, which is its liveliness and sharpness makes for a great aftertaste with a nice aroma. Very nice on a sunny winter evening like it is today. So Quawe coffee is today's flavor. That's right. What is it? Quawe Somalian coffee is today's flavor. What you sipping on? Go ahead and leave it in the comments. If you sipping on some water, some wine, a smoothie, some so again, some water, some beer, some wine, whatever it is that you sipping on, go ahead and leave it in the comments on this Friday night as we get you in the mood to get the flavor here at Coffee Talk Podcast. All right, moving right along. Before we get into the wise words, there's some things that I do want to point out about tonight's flavor, which is the Quaway coffee and its mixtures. Well, it does have spices of cardamom. So, what is the health benefits of receiving cardamom and cinnamon? That's what I want to drop right now. So, let's go ahead and talk about it. Some of it, the cardamom health benefits are cancer fighting compounds. It helps with digestive problems. It also treats bad breath. It prevents cavities and it also improves breathing and oxygen use. This is why they have the cardamom spice in that particular coffee. You got to give me 1 second as I'm looking at my video, and there's just a little bit of salt in the video. So I want to try to correct that if possible. Give me just 1 second, please. And then we're going to talk about cinnamon that's in the Quaway coffee. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being patient. All right. And cinnamon, the cinnamon spices that are part of the Quaway coffee, the Somalian coffee, its health benefits is that it is an anti-inflammatory. It also helps reduce the risk of heart disease. It helps lower blood sugar levels, and it is beneficial. Its beneficial effects. Um, it has beneficial effects for neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson. So tonight, the mixture of cardamom and cinnamon makes for a nice, enjoyable coffee. So tonight it's Quaway coffee. I like to call it Somalian coffee, but that's our flavor for tonight. All right. As always, as always, as always, we don't start the show without giving you its wise words. All right. So tonight's wise words comes from perhaps one of the greatest pitchers in Major League Baseball history. He's one of my favorites, as well as Roger Clemens. You know what I'm saying? And this brother here has been an inspiration to all athletes of the world. His dedication, his creativeness, his longevity makes him one of our heroes. And he also used to drop a lot of wise words. So here at Coffee Talk Podcast, we're gonna drop the wise words tonight of Satchel Paige. That's right, Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige was born July 7th, 1906. He went to the Essence June 8th, 1982. Let's go ahead and drop the wise words, shall we? Satchel Paige's wise words is this: work like you don't need the money, love like you've never been hurt, and dance like nobody's watching. Again, Satchel Paige stated, work like you don't need the money, love like you've never been hurt, and dance like nobody's watching. That's Satchel Paige, two-time Major League All-Star from 1952 to 1953, six-time Negro League champion, World Series champion in 1948, and he went into the Hall of Fame with the Cleveland Guardians. Satchel Paige is also, at the age of 59, the oldest baseball player in history to ever play the game of baseball. He signed his first Major League Baseball contract July 9th, 1948, at the wise old age of 48 years old. So let's give a wonderful, warm applause to the wise words of the evening, and that's Satchel Paige. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into the evening, and what's today's topic? Today's topic is masturbation. Today, we're going to be talking about masturbation and several different elements, I want to say. Tonight, we're going to talk about the feeling. What are you feeling as a young man or even as a young woman? But again, tonight, it's men's health. So, what are you feeling as a young man? We're going to also discuss the excitement and the fear of masturbation. We also going to dive into the education and the false narrative surrounding masturbation. We also going to talk about a few products to use, and we also going to teach you young fellas how to clean up, man. You know what I'm saying? Because right now, I get it. You're going through some type of feeling of sensual sensuality. Let's talk a little bit more about it. What you're going through as a young man, there's a compound called dopamine. Dopamine is a compound present in the body as a neural transmitter, and it's a precursor of other substances, including epinephrine. That's epinephrine. Dopamine is a pleasure neurotransmitter. That's where you getting this certain feeling, and in your mind, you don't know really what's going on. You know that you are in an environment where things are starting to stimulates you as an individual, and that is the dopamine that's going off in your brain right now. The dopamine is responsible for making you feel good, whether that's sexually or even if you're eating good foods. Have you ever ate some good foods to the point where you were like, "Oh man, this tastes so good"? There's even foods out there that can possibly even make you climax, as well as there's foods out there that can keep you stiff as far as your penis goes. You know what I'm talking about? But dopamine activates the reward system in your brain. And so that's what you're searching for, is you're searching for some type of relief. You understand? And you don't quite know why. And you don't quite not know where, why, and why is this happening. Well, if you're a young man at the age of 10 through 21 or whatever, this is what you're going to really be going through. I would say 18. Let's back it up a little bit. Before we talk further about the feeling of masturbation, I want to talk about actually three statistics. The first statistic is, according to CNN news anchor and research analysis, Don Lemon, he stated back on July 27th, 2013, he stated that 72% of African Americans are born out of wedlock. That's over three-fourths, y'all, or close to three-fourths. 72% of our children today are born out of wedlock. And according to the blackdemographics.com, in 2020, only 30% of our people were married compared to 48% of all Americans. Now, that statistic can be a little mm, hit or miss. Why? Because you have to figure in what are they calling all Americans. You know what I'm saying? And what do they consider black? I believe that it might even be lower than 30%. They also state that 50% of African Americans never been married. Half of us has never been married at all. Why do I bring up these statistics? Is because this has something to do with what you're going to go through and how you can bring understanding to yourself and create a path that you can walk on where you don't have to feel ashamed. So that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about masturbation. All right. So now the feeling of masturbation, it comes from the fact that you are bombarded. One, you're getting older. You're no longer a little boy no more, physically or mentally. You're starting to mature. Your voice is starting to get deeper. And to the other adults that may be 20, 21, that have never, that are still what they call virgins, we all still as human beings have that dopamine feeling, that dopamine compound that goes off in our bodies that makes us attracted to the opposite. You know what I'm saying? And so you're getting this feeling living in this environment where every time you turn on TV, you're seeing women, um, you know, twerk. Every time you pick up your cell phone, there's pictures of women in bikinis. You know what I'm saying? There's women twerking, they're in bikinis. Hip hop music today, the women today, all are speaking about sexuality. Right now, this era is in its biggest sexuality um, storm, I would say. And I don't say storm from a negative content because sexuality explosions like they are having right now, they come, they get marketed every so many years, man. I had that stage where that's what young people do. The environment attracts them. The environment, plus the fact that you're around beautiful young women, so you're trying to get a sense of not only your body, but what are you supposed to do with your body? So that's the feeling that you're getting right now. Now, what does that feeling lead to? Well, as a young man, I recall having like what they would call wet dreams. And the dreams would be sexual encounters. Sometimes I would wake up with a hard on. Also, there were times as a young man growing up, you're taking a shower and you're washing yourself and you have to wash yourself in your penis area. Sometimes you get a hard on there. That is the beginning of when you start to touch yourself. Not in the negative, y'all. We're not here to create no negative. We're here to teach. You have this stimulant feeling and you really need to release it because of the environment. Sometimes you feel stressed. Sometimes you feel like there's the weight of the world on your shoulders. Sometimes you're just curious because you're learning your body. And a lot of times it's just the sexual observance that we see 24/7. Because whether we are watching TV shows, videos, movies, it's sex, 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 sex. And the feeling that it creates within you is that you don't know how to go and discuss it with mommy or daddy. Damn sure don't want to go discuss it with mommy. Why? Because society has made it feel like you learning about yourself is a bad thing. It's a nasty thing. It's taboo. That's far from the truth. Everybody experiences life. Everybody needs to know their bodies because part of that is becoming a man and knowing who you are. Part of that is setting the tone for your needs as well as your desires. part of it sets the tone for the path that you're going to take. And it's important that somebody comes and talks to you about that so you don't got to feel nasty. So you don't got to feel like you're doing anything wrong. I'd rather us have this discussion tonight here at Coffee Talk Podcast than for you to just go on and never have this discussion with a man and then somebody confuses you, may have you doing some strange things and you not knowing because you just going with the flow. Never had this discussion with a father or a male in your home. So this is why it is important to have this show tonight here at Coffee Talk Podcast, the Cultural Variety Podcast show. I remember scenes in movies where you see the kid in the classroom sitting in the back, and he'd be visualing his teacher. She may have big breasts or a big butt or some nice hips, some pretty eyes or whatnot. Some beautiful short hair, some beautiful long hair, some beautiful dreadlocks, whatnot. And the visual, again, the dopamine will start to increase and you will get a hard on, an erection. I remember those scenes in the movies where the kids would be scared to get up because they was having an erection at that time. They didn't want the kids in the classroom to clown them. I know a lot of men done been in that situation. I know I have. I remember the day. I was sitting in class and I was just thinking about any and everything. But I had a strong heart on. I didn't want to get up, man, because I thought it would embarrass myself. Some of those hard-ons led me into touching myself to learn about myself. I remember the times I got caught masturbating. And I felt so ashamed. We're talking about the fear part now, because we just discussed the excitement. But I felt so ashamed, like I was doing something dirty. My uncles called me, each one of them individual called me one time in my life. And in my mind, I was so afraid. I didn't know if they were going to go tell grandma. I didn't know if they was going to tell the family. And they may have, but it was the fear that I had. Nobody's ever discussed it with me about touching myself. One of the reasons is because as you become an adult, you start to understand. So right now, being that you are a young adult, I feel we do justice by going ahead and talking about it and letting you know that it's okay. It's okay to start to touch yourself and experiment with yourself rather than going out here in society, hanging out with your friends, meeting young girls, and not being properly educated on your body, as well as the fact that you want to prevent doing something like picking up a STD or having an unwanted pregnancy with a woman that you don't really care for in that demeanor. No, this is not no diss to women, but a lot of men had babies or impregnated women when they wasn't trying to, but they never had father figures in the home, uncles in the homes that encouraged how to be preventative, how to be smart, how to be healthy. In my era, I know coming up, they used to say, man, go out there and conquer the world, go out there and get as much pee as you can. I also remember when they used to tease us and say, boy, you better eat that pee to keep your woman. These was all little cool little sayings and slogans. But the reality is, had they really talked to us like I'm talking to y'all tonight and giving y'all the education, we wouldn't have had kids so young. I know me, personalizing me for a moment. I know I had my first child when I was 15. I had my second child when I was 16. Both of these was in my sophomore, 10th grade and 11th grade. I was being forced to become a man before I was ready. Nobody spoke to me like I'm speaking to you today. And this is why we're talking about masturbation. So if you're just tuning into the show, we're talking about masturbation. We just talked about the feeling that people get as far as an arousal, as far as dopamine, as far as what is going on with you. We also just discussed the fear that you may take when you start to think that it's nasty, um, you're doing something wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. You shouldn't feel like you're nasty. So we definitely just talked about the fear. Let's go ahead and jump right into the education and the false narratives. Masturbating, that was things that came about through the Catholic Church. And this was a time period when church and state was not separated, but it was starting to be more church due to the Roman Catholics. You know that during this same time period, they were talking about monogamy, but in fact, they all had second, third wives, and they never really thought or followed what they were preaching. So masturbation was looked at as a bad thing amongst people. Today, there's a lot of false narratives. Some of the false narratives, depending on who you talk to, some of these scientifical cats, they'll say things to you like, "Man, if you masturbate, you're wasting yourself." And let me just say this: maybe you can prove that scientifically, but really, what is the chances of you losing yourself? What do you mean by that? Many of us, when you do start to have sex, then drop some sperm on a towel, on the floor, whatever. So don't get caught up in these false narratives. Every sperm cell has 70 million sperms in it. So you have to be careful. We have to have this discussion because it doesn't take but a little drop of sperm to impregnate a young lady. What is some of the other education of masturbation? Well, masturbation teaches you about what you like, what feels good to you, what you don't like. Masturbation also relieves stress. I have no problem with my young men out there masturbating. But let's talk about the effective ways of how to do it so that you don't play yourself in embarrassment. So, some of the ways to masturbate is try to do it when you are alone, maybe in the shower, maybe in your room if you got the door locked. But never do it to the point that mom and dad, or anyone for that matter, can find your evidence. That leads us into how to clean up. What are some of the best ways to masturbate, and how do you clean up? Well, some of the ways to clean up, man, is to make sure that when you're masturbating, you get you a nice towel, or perhaps some toilet paper, or perhaps a plastic bag, so that when you get ready to skeet, you can skeet in the plastic bag, you can skeet in the toilet paper in your hand, and you can flush it. You don't want to masturbate where your sperm gets on your clothing, because if you ain't the man that or woman that washes your clothes, mom or dad may run across it. Mom and dad will understand, because they're adults. But still, you as a person has to be responsible, accountable, and be health conscious and clean up after yourself. Parents, please play this video for your children, your young adults that may start to be thinking about getting sexually active. Fellas, here are some of the things that you may hear as a young man when you start to interact with young women. Some women are not going to want you to wear a condom, and we're going to have a show on that soon. Some women will lie to you and say they're on the pill, they're on the shot. Some women will tell you they don't want to have a baby. But this can be all game. And it doesn't take but a 3 minute or less, 30 seconds for you to enter a woman unprotected and you get to a climax where you come in her or you inject sperm into her. She can get pregnant. And at a young age, you don't need to be having kids. I always tell my sons, go and see the world. Don't be like dad. Don't be having no kids at 15, 16, man. Go see the world. I was fortunate enough when I had my kids, I still got to see the world. Got to leave the country a couple times. Got to go on private islands. That's the best education is when you can travel. And you don't want to be having no kids where that may stop that. You know what I'm saying? Other ways that you can clean up when you are masturbating is by using a grocery store plastic bag. You can skeet right in the bag, crumble it up, and go throw it away. This saves on wasting all of your parents' toilet paper throughout the house. It's telling you some ways that you can clean up. Now, what I do want to do is let you know when you are going through this experiment and you're not ready to be having sex with no other young lady because that's just not what you're ready for. But yet those dopamines is going off in your body and you're feeling aroused and you every touch of something you're feeling like you want to explore. Well, I want to show you some of the products that you should use when you're masturbating so you can have a great experience. If you're gonna do it, you might as well have a great experience, right? Perhaps if you have a great experience, it will slow your roll from rushing out there to some young lady and just getting anybody pregnant. This is what I would recommend for products if you're gonna go ahead and masturbate. One of the best products, or is this product here. As you can see, this product here is what they call KY jelly. KY jelly is a water-based personal lubricant. This feels much more closer when you put it in the palm of your hand to the reality of a vagina versus to your hard, rough ass hands. Right? Hey, I see what you did with it. That is, gives you the best feeling. You can't really reach a climax, or you might even possibly damage yourself by trying to masturbate dry handed, dry skin. You could possibly create a rash. What other products that you can use once you start to get into having sex and you still may want to use KY jelly on days like Valentine's Day that people celebrate. I don't celebrate it, but some people do throughout the world. And you want to have you a nice, beautiful night with a woman, and you both are sending sexual pleasures to one another. Another product you could use is the KY Jelly Warming Lubricant. This makes it more hot, more warm feeling, the same as what a vagina does. What else can you do with these type of products, these KY Jelly products? Well, if you're not ready to have sex with a person, I would recommend somehow you going to buy yourself a toy. I remember when I first used to buy some toys or even look at toys, I would look at a website called Adam and Eve. Big shout out to them, free pub. But you would buy yourself a vagina or you would buy yourself a pump, which to help increase penis size. But if you're gonna buy yourself a toy vagina, make sure you get you some proper KY jelly. Also, if you think that you're gonna have sex and you're saying, look, thank you for all this information, Saba. Thank you, big cousin. Thank you, unc. Thank you, dad. Just remember to make sure if you're gonna have sex with a young lady, make sure you use a condom. There's all different types of condoms too. This condom package here, this is called the Trojan Ecstasy. And what does this product do? Well, first of all, Trojan is the number one condom in America. Some people are going to say what a maximum and all this and that. It doesn't matter. You grab what you can, long as you protect yourself from STDs and unwanted pregnancies. But Trojan Ecstasy feels like there's nothing there. This is one of the thinnest condoms you can have, so that you, when you having sex with that woman you like, you want to make sure that you feel her, but also you want to stay protected. It also comes with, it's also comes ultra ribbed. What is ribs? Ribs are little plastic soft edges that are in the condom that helps when you are tapping on the clitoris. This helps bring a woman to her climax. So, other than that, this is today's topic of masturbation. Again, we talked about the feeling that you may be going through as a young man. We also talked about the excitement that it brings from that feeling. And we also talked about the fear. Don't be afraid that you are masturbating or touching your body, but just make sure that it is in um, places of privacy. We also educated you a little bit about masturbation and how it started to become some fearful phenomenon. Like, oh, I better not be doing this. I'm a lame. I'm a this. I'm a that. I don't want nobody to find out. We also talked about the false narratives. We also talked about how to clean up after yourself and what products to use. This is Coffee Talk Podcast, the cultural variety podcast show, and we take pleasure in being a big brother, a big uncle, a big cousin to you all, and just making sure that we give you the proper information on what you're going through as a young man, as you experience this life and the path you on, and the path and the life you're going to create while on that path. So, with that being said, I would like to go ahead and end our Friday night. I know you parents are rushing home from work. You kids are coming home from school, probably hungry, going off to a Friday night basketball game, or just hanging out with your boy, Mashum Saba, M. Saba. Just want to go ahead and touch base with you and let you know, yo, this is probably what you're going through at the age of 10 through 16, 17. You know, you're getting ready to graduate high school, go off into college, and really start to learn yourself and create your path. This is Saba. This is Coffee Talk Podcast. I like to leave y'all, man, with a universal peace sign. And I like to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Coffee Talk Podcast, the cultural variety podcast show, man. And we'll see y'all tomorrow, man, for Grown Folks Social Hour. We got a lot of fun in store. But until then, man, y'all enjoy y'all's Friday night. Peace.